Over the years, there have been plenty of egregious decisions in the UFC, but as Dana White always says, leaving it to the judges is the risk you take. From GSP and Johnny Hendricks to Benson Henderson and Frankie Edgar, some of the decisions we've seen over the years have been truly appalling. Today, we are looking at 5 of the most controversial title fights in UFC history. Stay with us. Let's get straight into it then. It's Henderson versus Edgar 2 at number 5. Stay with us. Henderson's reign at UFC lightweight champion had come at the expense of Edgar as the pair faced off at UFC 144 in Saitama, Japan. Edgar came in as defending champion, which made the decision a little more controversial as close fights tend to go to the champ. However, Henderson got the nod, and given how close it was, an immediate rematch was booked for August 2012 at UFC 150. The second fight was extremely close over the 5 rounds, but when you break down the stats, it becomes even more apparent that Frankie was robbed. Edgar outlanded his opponent with more significant strikes, 66-64, and also landed 2 takedowns to Benzo's 0. When you consider that Edgar also had around 3 minutes of control time on the floor, which is about 20% of the fight, and that he stuffed Henderson's one and only takedown attempt, then this one cries out robbery. The second fight turned out to be closer than the first, but again it went to Henderson as he was awarded the split decision win. 7 of the 9 media outlets in attendance scored the fight for Frankie, whilst the other 2 had it down as a draw. None of them scored the fight for Benson, which was pretty telling, and as such, this one goes down as one of the worst decisions in UFC title fight history. What did you guys make of this one? At 4, we have Robbie Lawler and Carlos Condit. Condit will go down as one of the best fighters never to win a UFC title, but there will always be those who believe he should have. His January 2016 fight for the welterweight crown against Robbie Lawler earned both fighters a Fight of the Night award. The UFC 195 bout was settled via split decision, which is always a telling sign of a close fight, but many people believe Condit won the fight. The decision almost certainly hurt Condit, as he only won 2 of his remaining 7 fights in the organization before retiring last summer, 2021. A bright start for Carlos saw him knock the champion down in the first, but that woke Ruthless up, and he returned the favor in the second. The next couple of rounds were very close, and although Robbie probably did more damage, Condit definitely landed more strikes. The 5th round saw the champion end strongly, throwing his signature combos at the end of the round to finish strongly, which many have argued is what stuck in the judges' minds. Condit ate everything Lawler had to throw at him and seemed certain of the win once the buzzer sounded for the end of the fight. Carlos can look at the fact that he landed almost double the significant strikes, and 15 of the 20 media outlets present scored it his way. Sadly for Condit though, he would never perform as he did in this fight ever again. Do you guys agree with this decision? We're talking Vitor Belfort and Randy Couture next. As 2 of the sport's early pioneers, these guys are undoubtedly legends of the game. Before they met for their second fight at UFC 46 back in August 2004, they had already fought before, with Couture handing the Brazilian his first professional loss by way of TKO. The second fight isn't controversial for either fighter being robbed, but for the decision to stop the fight. In the very first round, Vitor's glove sliced Couture's eye, leaving him with only one functioning eye. Of course, Couture wanted to carry on, and maybe the fight should have, but one thing is for sure, the doctor's stoppage managed to save Couture's eye, and for that reason, he should be highly appreciative of the medical intervention. The fans and Couture's team were unhappy at the time, however, and this certainly isn't the way a champion wants to lose their crown, but Couture and Belfort would return to the octagon to face off again for the 3rd time just 7 months later, with Randy scoring a decision win to wrestle back his light heavyweight crown from Vitor. Do you guys remember this one? What did you think about the decision to stop the fight in the first? Give us your thoughts below. Johnny Hendrick versus GSP is up next. Stay with us. George St. Pierre is undoubtedly one of the greatest mixed martial artists ever to grace the sport of MMA. He finished his epic career with a record of 26 wins and just 2 losses, but many people think it should have been 3. Coming into the bout with Hendricks, with his welterweight world title on the line, GSP hadn't lost in more than 6 years, and Big Rig himself was also riding a pretty decent win streak, having won his last 6, so this one promised fireworks, and it did not disappoint. GSP started the fight in a manner befitting a champion, but was badly hurt by Hendricks in the second round, and just did not seem himself for the remainder of the fight. Simply put, Johnny put it on him for the remaining 3 rounds, and most people agreed at the end of the fight that we were about to hear and knew reverberate around the arena. However, it didn't quite play out like that, and GSP was given the nod. Hendricks can look back at the fact that he landed more significant strikes than the Canadian, and that all media members in attendance scored the fight for him. The bitter taste left in Johnny's mouth by this decision didn't last long, however, as he would go on to win the belt in his next fight against Robbie Lawler as GSP vacated to take some time out. What did you make of this one? Next up, it's Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling 1. Before Aljo dominated the Russian earlier this year to become the undisputed bantamweight king, the pair battled in March 2021 in what would end up as one of the most controversial title fights in years. years. Jan came in as champion, having beaten Jose Aldo for the title last time out, and the brilliant boxer was also riding a 10-fight win streak. He was the betting favorite in the build-up, but that didn't matter, as a moment of madness made sure the title changed hands via disqualification for the first time ever in UFC history. The Serra-Longo fighter Sterling crouched down with one knee on the floor. He knew he couldn't have kneed or kicked. However, that didn't stop the Russian, as he kneed Aljo in the head anyway. As the Long Island man's head snapped back, DC and Joe Rogan in commentary knew we had seen something which would ultimately end up in Jan's disqualification. The Russian is lucky he didn't cause his opponent a more serious injury. There's a reason the UFC doesn't allow knees on a downed opponent. The incident would spark a year-long war of words between the pair before they finally came face-to-face again in April of this year, with Aljamain dominating Jan and scoring a big decision win. What did you guys make of the way the first fight finished? Pretty crazy, right? And finally, a bit of news surrounding the upcoming lightweight title fight. This week, the UFC has moved to make sure there is no doubt their lightweight title fight goes ahead in Abu Dhabi next month, with the news that Beneil Dariush will be on standby for the bout should either Charles or Islam not make it. Dariush is on a 7-fight win streak at the moment, but hasn't been seen in the octagon since his unanimous decision win over Tony Ferguson in May 2021. He is actually scheduled to fight on the same card as the title fight, but should neither of the main event fighters make it for whatever reason, the Iran-born fighter will fill in. He said, "That's what my manager Ali Abdelaziz told me. I was the backup for this. If something goes wrong, they will put me in." Beneil has been scheduled to fight both men in the past, but for one reason or another, both bouts fell through, and even though his opponent could end up changing at next month's UFC 280 in UAE, he has explained that all he can do is prepare, saying, "I prepare for a guy like Matus Gamrot, and 3 rounds, 5 rounds, it's really just pacing yourself," before saying he just needs to be as well-rounded as possible to take on either Charles or Islam. Do you guys see either of these two pulling out? As always, thanks for dropping by today, and remember to tune in again next time when we will be discussing all sorts of other cool bits and pieces. And why not do us a solid by liking today's video while also sharing it with any MMA heads you might have lurking on those social media accounts. Bye guys!